The WNBA season didn't make it a week before we got another chapter in the Angel Reese and Clark rivalry, featuring more toxic conversations that frankly sucked the air out of what was an otherwise tremendous start to the season. It all started when Clark was called for a flagrant foul for wrapping up Angel Reese underneath the basket and pushing her to the floor. It was a basketball play because the point was no easy layups. A standard rule in competitive basketball. Upgrading it to a flagrant, totally understandable because it was an obvious push. Now, Angel Reese didn't like it, and she let Clark and all of the Indiana Fever know about it. Though, Angel, I love you, girl, but you know damn well you wasn't about to swing on Clark. But I get it. As has been the case throughout their history, the hot takes were scorching about this incident, and one of the hottest and most sizzling came from former NFL quarterback and former ESPN analyst Robert Griffin III. On Twitter, RG3 posted, after watching Clark's flagrant foul on Angel Reese in the aftermath, there is no way Angel Reese can continue the lie that she doesn't dislike Clark. I know what hatred looks like. Angel Reese hates Clark. Not some basketball rivalry hate either. Hate. Word? Hatred? Now, RG3 elaborated more on his YouTube show, where he was laying it on pretty thick in calling out Angel Reese. And I couldn't help but notice that as he's tearing down Angel Reese, his wife, who is white, is chilling in the background, giving enthusiastic approval. Now, I'm gonna be totally honest, those optics, not a good look. And my former colleague, Ryan Clark, took things a step further and pointed out that perhaps one of the reasons RG3 did not understand how tone deaf his comments were about Angel Reese is because of certain conversations he probably ain't having in his own house.
And so now, if you're RG3, when is the last time within your household you've had a conversation about what she's dealing with? You haven't been able to do that because in both of your marriages, you've been married to white women. You haven't had opportunities to have those conversations to educate you on what they're feeling, what Black women deal with, what they're seeing when they think of a young Angel Reese. And the whole time that he's mimicking Angel Reese and bobbing his head and moving his neck while he's doing this whole piece, his wife is in the back amening and clapping.
You bring somebody's spouse into the mix, things definitely gonna get spicy. And here was RG3's response.
There's a line in life that you just simply don't cross. Wives and children are always off limits, and Ryan Clark has sprinted past that line. Ryan Clark didn't like my sports take that Angel Reese hates Clark, and that's fine. It's okay. It's part of the game. Sports media, I'm gonna have an opinion. This person might not agree with it. That person might not agree with it. But what you don't do is turn around and personally attack me and my family just because you don't agree with a sports opinion that is purely based off the sport. I didn't make it personal. But what that really shows is just how low of a person Ryan Clark is.
So here's the thing. RG3's opinion wasn't a sports take. He doesn't know Angel Reese. He doesn't talk to Angel Reese. He doesn't know Clark either. His observation that Angel Reese hates Clark isn't about sports, but about something he senses is more personal. Now, what Ryan was pointing out was a lack of self-awareness. Now, I certainly don't care how many white wives RG3 has had. Who he loves is his business. But this is ultimately a conversation about cultural competency. Angel Reese's very existence rubs a lot of people the wrong way. No one knows for sure how she feels about Clark, but what we do know from Angel Reese's own public comments is that she feels a way that she isn't given more credit for how she also has added to the popularity of women's basketball in this moment.
I think so many people are watching women's basketball right now. It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, just because of one single game. And just looking at that, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
Those comments from Angel Reese about wanting some credit for helping to grow the game came from a very real place for Black women, for Black people overall. Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, and Kelsey Plum have all admitted that as white stars, they are operating with a certain amount of privilege. As talented as they are, they each have acknowledged that they receive more fanfare and opportunities because of the way whiteness works. Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, and other Black stars in the WNBA know they have to work a little bit harder to receive the credit and attention they deserve. They know the marketing push and dollars sometimes won't be the same for them. They know their actions will be judged differently, and they are under a different type of scrutiny. For that reason, a lot of Black women identify with Angel Reese. She is so unapologetic about who she is. She is out here living her best life at the Met Gala, playing with passion and enthusiasm, and she speaks her mind. People resent that, especially coming from a young Black woman. Now, there are so many examples of outspoken and unapologetic athletes being portrayed negatively by the media, especially if they're Black. If Black athletes are confident, they are considered cocky and arrogant. If they speak their mind, then they're considered troublemakers or ungrateful. Same tropes, different day. Caitlin Clark is a supernova. She's probably the most impactful women's basketball player that we've seen in decades. She's putting up numbers both on the court and when it comes to the ratings. But 2.7 million people watched that game last week between her and Angel Reese, and it wasn't all because of Caitlin Clark. Their stories have been intertwined since they played in the national championship game, and Angel Reese hit Caitlin Clark with the "you can't see me." In sports, we love drama. We love the idea of athletes having to go through something, whether it be a player, a team, or just the general obstacles that come along with trying to win. It's why we love the game. We also love fiery competitors and athletes who talk their shit and back it up. But when it comes to women, or more specifically, these two women, we are struggling to see them as just two highly competitive athletes who often are in a position of having to compete for the same things. Let's just say it's true, and Angel Reese loathes the ground that Caitlin Clark walks on. So, in men's sports, petty grievances are accepted among men and considered part of being a competitive athlete. I'm old enough to remember Jalen Rose admitting he hated Duke and Grant Hill because they represented everything that was out of reach for him as a young Black man growing up in inner city Detroit.
For me, Duke was personal. I hated Duke, and I hated everything I felt Duke stood for. Schools like Duke didn't recruit players like me. I felt like they only recruited Black players that were Uncle Toms. I was jealous of Grant Hill. He came from a great Black family. Congratulations. Your mom went to college and was roommates with Hillary Clinton. Your dad played in the NFL, is a very well-spoken and successful man. I was upset and bitter that my mom had to bust her hump for 20 plus years. I was bitter that I had a professional athlete that was my father that I didn't know.
I'm old enough to remember Dr. J giving Larry Bird a 2-piece biscuit and 2 sides on the court because Larry was talking so much shit to him.
So, Larry Bird was a great trash talker. Okay. And he's like, Charles, y'all better get this old man off me. I'm telling you. And he's just roasting Doc. Yeah. He's like, and this was Doc last year, I think. He was right there. It was either last year or the year before. And he's killing Doc. And he's like, Chuck, I'm telling you for the last time, you better get over here because I'm going to kill this old man. And it goes on up and down. And Larry just killing him. And Doc had just had enough. And I just had them, they come together, and I just kind of grabbed Larry. I'm not even looking at Doc. When I went back and looked at the tape, Doc was nailing his ass. I was just trying to pull guys apart.
And I'm also old enough to remember Magic Johnson admitting his friendship with Isaiah Thomas was ruined at one point once the two met in the NBA Finals.
Did the NBA Finals change you and Isaiah's relationship?
Yeah, it did. And I'm sad that I have to sit here and say that, but it did. I'm sure his coach, just like Pat Riley, wanted to know, and my teammates wanted to know, if I had to, am I going to put him down?
You did.
And I said, yeah, and I did. And so that got them to say, okay.
But he looked at you different.
Oh, for sure.
Because prior to that,
sure.
You're like, okay, you guys had a great relationship. Hey, bro, stay healthy, good. But he came down the middle, and you had to let them know.
That's right. My teammates, as well as the Pistons.
You had to let him know.
That's right. that I'm here to win.
Right.
And then he jumped up swinging, and I said, no problem. I had no problem with that,
Right.
you know. And so it took us, a matter of fact, the last probably couple of years to mend everything.
Right.
People love hearing these stories, but for some reason, when it comes to Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, we simply refuse to view their competitiveness through that same lens. Maybe they hate each other, maybe they don't. But I want us to graduate to a point where whether or not they like each other is utterly irrelevant. Angel Reese is not the villain in Caitlin Clark's story, no more than Caitlin Clark is the savior in hers. Every interaction between them is not a think piece. If there are hard fouls, rough language, and things get spicy, so be it. If you have no problem when male athletes compete hard against one another or expose their pettiness, do us all a favor and apply that same energy so we can actually enjoy this WNBA season. I'm Jemele Hill, and I approve this message.